What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Pick Six Podcast, CBS Sports Daily NFL Podcast. I'm Brinson, I'm your host. Conference Championship weekend is here. 3 more football games left in the 2022 NFL season. Insane to think about. This is our Conference Championship Best Bets show. Joining me to make some picks to try and solidify one of their titles. I don't know. Maybe RJ's already won. I don't quit keeping track after I fell far behind. Pete Prisco, RJ White. What's up, fellas?
How's it going?
Good. How are you?
I am.
By the way, Brinson, the next time we do this show, I will be live with you.
Oh my God. I saw you at the Super Bowl last year. That's right. I've seen you like one time in the past 3 years.
I will see you at the Super Bowl.
We used to see each other every Thursday.
I think we're not doing a full pick show on the Pro Bowl skills challenges, Pete. You don't want to get the longest yard winner on record or longest drive.
Who's going to win? Who's going to win ping pong?
Yeah,
I'm out on that.
We are talking. I guess that's probably what we're talking to Eli Manning about on Monday. So a little sneak preview. We're talking to Eli Manning on the Pick Six Pod. Pete, friend of Pete's, right? Aren't you? You're buddies with the Mannings.
I know Peyton much better than Eli.
I interviewed them both one time, a long time ago, well before I worked for CBS. I was very nervous. It was like my first pick. I had to drive up to maybe I flew to Lehigh, Pennsylvania. It's like the oldest high school rivalry in high school football, and they were the honorary captains for the two teams up there in Pennsylvania. It was during the 2009 NFL draft because I remember covering it from my hotel room when the Jets.
First time I really had a chance to get to know Peyton was I went to Louisiana to do his football camp before anybody else ever went there, and sat in a dorm room and talked to him for about 40 minutes with no interruption. Think about that. That would never happen now.
No, never happen. You would have 14 PR people bugging you. You'd have to you'd have somebody.
That was the year I tell you that story all the time about Phillip Rivers. When I pulled up in the stadium, it was like 115 out that day in Louisiana, and they were on a synthetic field. And I look out and I go, who are those lunatics out there working out? And it was Eli and Peyton and Phillip Rivers.
God, I'd love to hear it. As Don points out, Lehigh versus Lafayette. That's right. The oldest. No, it's not college. It's definitely a high school rivalry. Whatever the rivalry I went to was the oldest high school rivalry. Anyway, it was like a Gatorade thing. Anywho, I digress. We have games to talk about, picks to make. What is the I'm gonna bring the rundown real quick. What is the how badly am I trailing you fools? They're all freaking out. I don't know.
You fools. I think I was 2-3 last week and he had me down 1-3. He corrected it.
So you're not, you're 50% right now. It looks like on the overall record, you're 7-7 because you put in a lot more picks on random stuff.
I did
5-4, Pete 6-3.
Yeah. RJ 5-4, Pete 6-3. I'm 7-7. So if I went 6-2 this week, I would win. If I held on to the Super Bowl. I'm not dead for the playoff race.
You're almost dead. Depends on if you put in 40 bets and you win.
I got 8 this week. 8.
Yeah.
And one's a 12-unit whale play.
By the way, the Cowboys, by losing the Cowboys game with Brady Quinn, he won the season overall picks with me. So I had to. They gave me an L. They gave me an L on the show yesterday.
I was on the show with you yesterday for part.
Yeah, they gave me an L.
You didn't seem thrilled at Brady's Woody Johnson joke.
I didn't care about it, but
you just like, what are you doing?
Well, I just like to bring attention to his stuff so people give him crap.
Yeah, he said. Anyway, we don't need to talk about it. As we mentioned, 2-3 for Pete and RJ, 3-4 for me last week, and we have 2 games on the docket. We'll start with. You want to start with which game you want to start with?
Early game.
Yeah, early game.
Go in order.
That's the late game. Billy is mistakenly under the impression that the Eagles game is the marquee game. Although, unfortunately, Billy, the Chiefs and the Bengals game is on CBS, and the Eagles game starts earlier. So let's start with the Eagles and the 49ers, if we could do that. We go chronological. Like it's not your fault, Billy. You're blinded by your rampant homerism and cannot get over the idea that the Eagles game is the appetizer for the real beef later in the evening that appears on CBS. So we start 49ers at the Eagles. That was me just filibustering until you got it up. 3 p.m. on Fox, the NFC Championship game. The 1 seed and the 2 seed. The way it's supposed to be, the way the playoffs works. It's delightful. Over the point spread, Eagles -2.5, and it's -115, and it's been that way basically since Monday. We record this Thursday afternoon. No real injury news involved here. The total is 46. That's dipped a little bit. We had Chris McCaffrey and Deebo Samuel not at and Elijah Mitchell not at practice on Wednesday. I don't think that's a big deal. CMC had some calf stuff going on in the game last week, but by and large, Pete, this line is it's weird because it looks like it really wants to move, and yet it hasn't. Because I think if you see a 3 pop up, the sharps or RJ, just from a line movement perspective, you would assume that if this gets to 3, it gets attacked, right, by the sharps in Vegas and whatnot.
I'm not really sure. It depends on how they're handicapping the game, and I'll talk further about what I'm picking in the game. But if you believe in Brock Purdy in that offense, sure. But it's a tough call.
All right, Pete, what do you think about this game?
Yeah, I don't believe in Brock Purdy in that offense. Look, he's been good. There were some issues last week that showed up against a good defense. He wasn't the same guy. Didn't look as confident. Made a couple big plays, but Kittle bailed him out on the illegal formation that he shouldn't have been legal on. That was a big play in that game. It gets him going and gets him down there to get the points. But I think when you look at it, this environment, he's never experienced it in the playoffs. It's tough. The defensive line can get after the quarterback. They're outstanding at rushing the passer. And on the other side, look, the 49ers, if you block them, you beat them. I've always said that. And I think this offensive line is the best in football. I think they'll block them. Those linebackers are speedy. They can fly to the football. We know that. But one thing that when you can go sideline to sideline, the way the Eagles spread you out on offense, that makes it really kind of neutralize some of that speed a little bit and opens up the middle of the field. So I think the Eagles are the play here. I think they win by 7-8 points in this game, and I'll take the Eagles as the best bet. I think both teams will score, by the way. So I do think, there might be some turnovers in short field. So I'll take the Eagles and the over in the game.
100% behind what Pete's saying on the spread, at least, not really on the total. I also have the Eagles as my first best bet in this game. I have 2. Eagles minus 2.5 is 1. The Eagles the Philly has an elite rush offense. So this elite San Francisco rush defense, that matchup really could decide the game, who gets the win there. And if the Eagles can do what they want to offensively running the ball and opens up the passing game, then I think they're going to score points. But even if San Francisco contains Philly's run game, I think the offense has to score points against the top defense. Philly's defense better versus the run from week 10 on. Their elite offense can put teams in negative game script early. So we haven't really seen Purdy in negative script. So we'll see how that looks. He finally started to look shaky last week against the number 2 pass rush in the NFL. Well, guess who's number 1? The Eagles. And not only are they number 1, but the drop from number 2 to number 17 is bigger than the rise from 1 to 2. to 2-1. So the Eagles are in adjusted sack rate, just so much better than the 49 than the Cowboys. And that's what Purdy's going to have to face here. Hurts finally looked healthy. I mean, he didn't get hit a ton, so maybe he gets hit in this game and it's a different call and he didn't have to do much because they jumped out to a 28-0 lead at halftime. So he could kind of sit out the second half and not risk himself much. So if it's competitive, maybe we see something different there. But I think that's on Purdy to make it competitive. And I'm not sure he's going to be able to. When you look at these rosters, there are two very good rosters and two very good coaches up and down the board. But then you have an MVP caliber quarterback on one side against a 7th-round rookie on the other side, and the Eagles are at home. And so the Eagles, if you trust in their defense, which I do, and trust in their coaching, which I do, think 2.5 is too low of a number. I'd make it a few points higher. I agree with Pete. I have it winning by 7-10. My other best bet is kind of on the other side of Pete. I have the 49ers team total under 22.5. I think they struggle to get to 20 points in the game. Probably stays under, but I'm more confident taking the 49ers team total under instead of the full under, because the Eagles could score some points here.
One quick note on the 49ers. You talk about the rosters real quick.
We got. I mean, not like we're trying to stretch out the pot, but we have plenty of time.
The 49ers offensive line is good in the run game, but they got problems in pass protection at times. McClinchy's not been great in pass protection. I don't think the rookie right guard has been even good in pass protection. He's a good run player. They kind of rotate him in sometimes, rotate him out. The center's average. The left guard is average. We know Trent Williams might be the best. He probably is the best left tackle in the game. But the rest of that group is average. And I think if they can get after Purdy, I think that's going to be a problem for the 49ers.
Yeah. If they get after Brock Purdy and they stack Brock Purdy a ton.
He bailed last year a bunch.
What's
Remember?
that?
He bailed last year a bunch. Last week. He was bailing.
No. I'm not. I agree with you completely. If they get after Purdy and Purdy, I mean, like if he's under siege from the Eagles pass rush, this could be a blowout. I mean, that wouldn't be shocking at all. I mean, look, I'm very conflicted here because I've been picking the Niners to make the Super Bowl since the playoffs started, but I picked the Eagles to make the playoffs before the season started, and I have Super Bowl tickets on both, but I have an NFC Championship game ticket or win the NFC Championship ticket on the Eagles too. So, like, I don't know why my heart says Niners. I've got like some best ball stuff. Like I prefer the Niners advance anyway. Like. I'm not sure what I want here. I kind of think that the Eagles find a way to win, though. But I don't know that it's necessarily a blowout. I mean, this is the Niners team is just so good and has so many different weapons. But you look at the Eagles, I mean, they haven't given up. Like what's the most they haven't given up more than 100. They've given up more than 125 rushing yards once since like week 11. Now, the teams that they played haven't exactly been a who's who of.
What did the Saints have against them running the ball? They ran the ball, didn't they?
The Saints had 129 against them. They gave up 120. I mean, they gave up 123, 157, 115. 129 both those games. So no more than only more than 130 once. But I mean, yeah, I mean the Cowboys threw all over in week 16 and ran the ball. I just don't. I hope that this is a really good game. I don't think there's a chance of the 49ers blowing out the Eagles. But I do think there's a chance of the Eagles blowing out the 49ers. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I don't think they will blow them out. I think 7-8 isn't a blowout, but that's what I think they'll win by.
Okay, well, I'm shoving the rules in RJ's face in this one, and I'm going to take some. Well, you know what? I mean, some of the stuff is juicier, like some of the props, but they're not. I'm not taking anything egregious. Is that fair?
Yeah, it's less shoving it in my face and more. In golf, when you play with a really good golfer, there's a handicap on the side to make it fair. I think when you're in this competition against two pros like me and Pete, you need a handicap. So we're going to let you pick some easier picks.
Give me a couple strokes.
You can use your hand.
You can play on easy mode. Go ahead.
That's fine. I appreciate that. So, well, I mean, basically, I picked out some props I like. I don't want to not mention them. I mean, there's nothing more than like 130. So like that's just, I mean, you hate to lay 130. Most of them are like 125 or whatever. But I mean, sometimes just the way that the books put it out there, you don't really have a choice. And I personally don't care about laying 130. So I'm going to lay 130 on a teaser. If you can find it 120, obviously that's much better. 6.5 point teaser. Niners up to 9. It really should be 120 since they're minus 105, but whatever. And Cincy up to 7.5. So I'm going to tease the 2 dogs. Cincy is my +1. You could possibly wait until a little bit later. I could see the Chiefs getting up to 2. Not that it necessarily matters. I mean, 7.5, 8, fairly negligible if you're not going to get plus 7.5. So I mean, just like that, just a thought that you could, if you want to wait and you think that the Chiefs line is going to get up, I mean, you could get a better number. But I think as long as you're getting, or you move the teaser for cheaper, as long as you're getting obviously past the 7, that's the key thing.
Why don't you just go with a 10-point teaser and lay even more odds for yourself to give yourself a couple winners?
6.5 point teaser, pretty standard. This is not crazy. Let me hold on. I want to see what I've got on my. I swear I did a 6.5 point teaser. So.
Just for the listeners, like it's fine laying minus 130. I'm not saying never do that. I'm just in what we're doing. We're going by record. We're not going by units or that kind of thing. We're not calculating all this out. Right. So we're trying to stay close to as even as possible with our picks and not give you a minus, huge minus 150 and then count that as a win on our record.
But if he had a 6-point teaser, it would be minus 1.
Right, so on my site that I will be using, I'm going to put this in right now. I have a 6.5 point teaser for minus 120.
But it's
also time travel because you're back in 1994 where they gave you
it's fantasy land.
It's real. I mean, it's I don't know to tell you. I mean, it's real. It's not.
Well, I'm saying the 99.9% of people that listen to this are not going to be able to get minus 110.
Hopefully, for running this and listening to the podcast, they're going to change it. Yeah, I know somebody else who told me they have a minus 120 for 6.5. But anyway, like I think that's I mean, don't you agree that's a pretty good teaser? Even if you have to lay the minus 130, like, would you make that teaser if you felt okay doing the 130?
No, because I did not want to tease this week, no matter what the lines were in the Bengals Chiefs game, because of what you said earlier. There's a chance that the Eagles blow out the 49ers. I don't want to have 49ers plus 7.5. What if Purdy gets behind? He's not rallying back for that cover. If he's down, if he's down 10, if he's down 14, is he going to backdoor cover for you? I trust, anybody else left in the playoffs a lot more than him to do that. So okay. I don't want to trust him to backdoor cover on a teaser for me. I don't want any part of the 49ers.
He's the unknown to the postseason. We have no idea.
There's never been a rookie quarterback to play in a Super Bowl to start I mean, like to start a Super Bowl. Like a rookie quarterback has never won a championship game. They're 0-4. Can you name the four, Pete? I'm sure you see the graphic.
Oh, I've seen it. Wasn't Dieter Brock one of them? Is it first-time quarterbacks or rookie quarterbacks?
Rookie quarterbacks.
Oh, because Dieter Brock's one.
09 was the last one.
First-time quarterback. Dieter Brock was. He's the question, and so was Kurt.
Kurt Warner was.
Yeah. So is he more Kurt Warner or more Dieter Brock?
Probably Dieter Brock than Kurt Warner. I mean, it's probably not going to
We
be
don't
the
know.
MVP in the
Okay,
Super Bowl.
if he goes in this week and throws for 30 and they win, he's definitely their starting quarterback next year. But what happens if he goes in and throws for 140, three picks and goes
There's
9 or
with Trey
30?
Lance. Like the idea that they're trading Trey Lance this offseason is kind of silly to me. I mean, they still have team control on a guy they traded a bunch of picks for. Like he's not. It is very likely a competition next year between Brock Purdy and Trey Lance.
Well, here's the deal.
And Aaron Rodgers or Tom Brady.
Usually, you are what you are, with the exception of Tom Brady and maybe Kurt Warner at that position. How often do we see a guy who turns into a star from way back in the draft? Right? I mean, it's a miracle when it happens.
Yep.
And so, is he that, or is he that? Or is he somewhere in between? And he's probably somewhere in between.
That's probably correct. But somewhere in between can get you through there. By the way, the rookie quarterbacks were Mark Sanchez in 09, Joe Flacco in 2006? All right.
Wasn't Ben a rookie when he?
And Roethlisberger was the next one, and then the other one. Oh my God, I'm drawing a blank on it. Who was the other one? Crap. Do we have that? Do you have that graphic up there? Sean White. Thank you, Victor, in the comments. Was it Sean White or Sean King?
Sean King.
Sean King, not Sean White. That's right.
Yeah.
But you got the Sean part right, and that got us to Sean King. Yeah. So those are the four. 0-4 prior to this.
Sean White wasn't Sean.
Sean White's a snowboarder.
Yeah.
The flaming carrot or whatever. Yeah.
Carrot top.
Love Sean White.
Speaking of late round quarterback, one Matt Hasselbeck, 7th rounder, or late round pick, or am I thinking of somebody else? I'm just trying to think of like the medium. Medium case for Brock Purdy being solid. You know, if you take a guy like
Hasselbeck, 6th round pick. I mean that.
Yeah. So if he becomes Matt Hasselbeck, that's very good. You know, outcome.
Matt Hasselbeck, that's fantastic.
Yeah. I mean, Hey, let me ask you something. We were having this discussion in chat. So, and this is a little off topic, but I just thought of it. You guys are always good to discuss with it. The Dolphins are forfeiting their pick, right, this year.
Right.
So sorry, let me just make sure I got the NFL draft. So the pick that they have is the pick that they're forfeiting is number 21. Will the Chargers pick, which is after the Dolphins forfeited pick, be the 21st pick or the 22nd pick?
I think the NFL will call it 21. I think other teams have forfeited like 3rd and 4th round picks, they just move them up. They don't skip it.
That's what it appeared to look like, but there's no like official. I couldn't find anything in the CBA. There's no official.
No, they'll move them up.
Okay.
And believe me, that agent will move them up too.
Oh, that's a good point too. But it matters a lot for over-unders in the draft.
Right.
You know, if you're betting draft props where it's like, you don't get a free slot because of the Dolphins. It'll move up, right?
Yeah, the Super Bowl winner will have the 31st pick in the NFL draft, not the 32nd.
So 32nd pick, that agent, I'm a 1st round pick.
Yeah. And it's who has it now after the Chase Claypool trade.
The Chicago Bears. I mean the Pittsburgh Steelers. Pittsburgh Steelers. Which, by the way, I said I got crushed for pointing out that it could be the first pick of the second round. And everyone's like, "Hey, that's my man." I'm like, well, here we are. Suck it, Wilson. Preach. Real quick, I got a couple props that I got in this game. I didn't write down the juice. They're not crazy. I got Quez Watkins under 14.5 receiving yards. Just think we're going to see a concentration of targets with AJ Brown and Devontae Smith.
Didn't Quez Watkins have a 91-yard catch against the Niners last year?
Maybe. He didn't have AJ Brown there. I'm just saying, look, he could if he beats this, it's going to be a one catch, right? I just think that you look at the line, you look at the spread, you look at the way that they operate. There's a pretty good chance that if the Eagles get a lead, they're going to start pounding the ball and not attacking vertically with Quez Watkins. So I'm going to take that under at 14.5. I'm going to take CMC over 33.5 receiving yards. A lot of pathways to get there. If they're losing and trailing, dump offs to CMC. He's going to be in the passing game plan anyway. And then this is we're going to give an honorary one to our man John Breach here. Robbie Gould over 1.5 field goals. Kyle Shanahan loves to settle for short field goals. Does not want to go on 4th down. Won't do it here. Robbie Gould over 1.5 field goals. So those are my 4 bets for that game. Let's take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll break down how much Patrick Mahomes will play, how much the injury will affect him, and the entirety of the Bengals-Chiefs game next.
There is something coming. Old friends and allies standing together again, reuniting to accomplish a shared mission. Knowing your destiny must not be denied, because this decides everything.
Bengals, Chiefs, the AFC Championship. And at halftime, the world premiere for the official trailer of Star Trek Picard, streaming February 16th on Paramount+.
I guess they didn't want me to do the promos for the new stuff on the NFL for Paramount+, whatever. I just do the voiceovers for the podcast.
Who did that voiceover? I couldn't hear it.
It was
Musso?
No, it was like Jean-Luc Picard.
Oh, I couldn't hear it. I can't hear it.
Oh, really? Okay. Chiefs and Bengals. Chiefs and Bengals. Bengals at Chiefs. Chiefs -1. A total of 47. This game is on CBS, 6:30 p.m. There is a very good chance that we are going to get some Bafo ratings for this game. You can stream it on Paramount Plus. You should have Paramount Plus. If you don't have Paramount Plus, what are you thinking? It's a mountain of entertainment. Go to ParamountPlus.com, and I'm pretty sure you get some kind of promo, maybe a free month or something like that. Don't hold me to that. But go check it out. Excuse me.
You can always watch Young and the Restless on Paramount Plus too, which
You're a big Soaps guy.
I'm a big fan of Young and the Restless.
Why would you? Big company man.
Yeah, I love Young and the Restless.
All right, first, before we talk about the game, let's talk about Patrick Mahomes. Because Mahomes had a high ankle sprain against the Jaguars on Saturday. This line was Chiefs -2, I believe, dropped down to 1, dropped down to pick 'em, moved across the board. Bengals were -1. Bengals kept, creeping up, got to 2.5 at one point, which, really should have teased the Chiefs at that point. Forgot to. Then Patrick Mahomes on Wednesday does a press conference. Andy Reid does a press conference. They're like, Andy, what's to do with the injury report? He's like, no injuries to report. Nobody's on the report. It's like, what? Excuse me, what? Your quarterback has an ankle sprain. Patrick Mahomes comes out after him. No walking boot, no nothing. He goes up, does his press conference, walks off, and there's, we showed clips. We showed a clip of him walking off yesterday. I mean, it's like he looked great walking off. Then there's video of him at practice, maybe a little less great. I think, Pete, that the Chiefs made a purposeful show of Andy Reid going out there talking about the lack of injuries, and then Patrick Mahomes coming out there like that. And maybe he collapsed after he walked through the door and left the press conference. I don't know. But I think that they wanted to present that in a very specific way. Your thoughts?
Yes, but there's no saying that he's going to be able to play like Patrick Mahomes just because he can walk off a podium and go straight. And in talking with Brady Quinn yesterday, who played the position, he said you're better off having your front foot have the ankle sprain than your back foot in the ability to push and throw it that way. And so I think it's a concern. Look, everything he's done in his career has been off schedule. Not everything, but a lot of it. He's great at skipping up in the pocket and making throws down the field. And surprisingly, Jacksonville blitzed him less after he got hurt than they did before he got hurt last week, which made no sense to me. And I don't think that the Bengals will back off in any way, shape, or form if he can't move. You go after him, you take away his ability to move, and he's a different quarterback, I think. And so it's going to be a real challenge for him if he can't move. And I don't think just because you can walk off the podium and put your foot on the ground, it's the same as going sideline to sideline or side to side. So I look, that's a 3-week injury normally. He's a tough kid. Give him all the credit in the world. And there was no way he was even wanted to come out of that game. But he's not going to be the same quarterback no matter where he is in terms of walking off the podium.
So let's say Patrick Mahomes is worth, 8 points to the line in general, if he's just going to miss the game. What do you think a less effective Patrick Mahomes is worth? Is he worth a +4 instead of a Well, I'm,
just whatever, I guess.
that's my, I am putting that number out there. I wanted to say 10, but I think that's too much for most rating systems. Would not have it that high, but Mahomes to Henny is a pretty big drop off.
Yeah,
so if the Chiefs play with Henny right now, what would the line be?
Well, that's my point.
If Mahomes was ruled out and we knew that, it would be
the Bengals would be what, 5?
3.5, 4. I don't know. 5 is a ton to a Chiefs team that it's like. I know Henny's not as good, but like, man, Andy Reid's a great coach and they have weapons. And
I don't think it would go to 5. What do you think, RJ? 3?
So we'll first let's determine that injury did not happen. Let's just hypothetically say that. What's this line? Chiefs minus what? 3?
3.5. 3.5.
3.5. Okay, so if you say 5, it goes to 5. You're saying he's an 8.5. It's worth 8.5.
Yeah,
points.
it's probably more like, I think it would be more like 3.5. So it'd probably be a 7. It'd be 7. 3.5 to 3.5.
3.5. So that's 7 points.
That's probably about right. I mean, 7 points is a ton to the spread, but that's Mahomes. I mean, that's fair.
So at -1, are we saying like the less effective thing? All the things you talked about, is that worth 2.5 points, or is that worth more?
We won't know. That's the thing. You won't.
I don't
know
think you know
until
until he's on the field, right?
Right. You won't know that. You got to assume, and this is just my assumption because I've watched enough of him on tape that when he can move, he's a different guy. Mm-hmm. He does move. He's a different guy. You defend him differently when he moves.
Well, and so that's what I thought was kind of interesting about what the Chiefs did, like making sure Mahomes. It's like Mahomes is playing, no fear. It's like, why wouldn't you make him look like he's limp? And like, he's hurt. Put him on the injury report. Make him doubtful. Put him limp. Like make him walk limping around out there. And then like the Bengals aren't game planning as much in terms of how they want to.
Because he is hurt. That's why.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Like you would only do that if he. Like you would only present that if you want like your team to be confident and you're fat. I don't know what the point of it is.
But what was the game where he had a high ankle sprain on the other ankle and he played against the Raiders the week after, right?
It was like 400
yards.
Yeah. But that's a different, and again, I'm talking about a quarterback, Brady Quinn, saying that it's much different when it's the plant foot and not the.
Right. You could see that on the accuracy and sort of the mechanics that in the second half against Jacksonville too. Where it was like he's sort of guiding the ball a little bit more. And look, the other thing is, I mean, the two biggest deals for me are one, the plant foot and the mechanics and all that, and then two, he has made a living in the playoffs. I said this like 7,000 times, but I think it's really important on third down, particularly extending plays and getting out of the pocket and making crazy throws or using his legs to pick up first downs. And it's just going to be a lot harder here. And every time you slide or every time you risk like trying to run and pick up something, you're exposing your ankle to a possible hit.
Well, here's the other thing about it. When you play the Chiefs, you got a plaster in the secondary because of that ability to scramble. When you don't have to plaster, you can do much more dictating instead of being dictated to. And by that, I mean, when you're defending, and now Tyreek Hill's not there, but somebody with speed, you know your initial coverage when you play the Chiefs isn't necessarily ending that. But when he can't move, that ends it. I think that's an enormous difference if you're defending them.
So I like the Chiefs here. I think that they're not going to run their exact same offense, assuming he's healthy. They're going to be able to do some different things blocking wise. They'll be able to do some misdirection in the run game. They'll get, Tony and McKinnon more involved in those type of things. And they might block for him more. They might, in terms of, you would roll him out and let him, be on a naked bootleg or something and just go if he needs to. In this case, you might throw a blocker out there too. It's going to limit maybe the amount of pass catchers you throw out in the routes. It's going to limit some of what you could do, but there are ways to hide this injury a little bit and not just put him out there in the same offense that he would be running in general when this injury is there. So I think that they can play around it a little bit. I didn't want to mark them down too much for this injury because he is going to play. He did finish that game. And all indications are he's playing and he's still Patrick Mahomes. Even 80% of Patrick Mahomes is better than most quarterbacks. Maybe not Joe Burrow, but most quarterbacks. But Cincinnati comes in this game not lacking confidence. We know the history there, 3 wins. That's not predictive either. They're not going to win. Burrow's not going to beat Mahomes 20 times in his career, however many times they face each other. Mahomes going to get one eventually. Since he has done a great job of limiting Kelsey in those matchups before, so maybe somebody does need to step up. I don't know who that would be with the Kansas City passing game being what it is, but we'll see. This offensive line for Kansas City or for Cincy might be tested a little more by the Kansas City defensive line if there's not going to be snow. So we'll see if that's the case here. Everyone was on Cincy. I don't think you can make Cincy favored, even with a gimpy Mahomes. That's why I'm not surprised this line has moved back. So I'm on Kansas City. It feels like they're not as dangerous without Tyreek. We mentioned Tyreek a little bit. His numbers have been better this year than they were last year. So they've been running the offense just fine. So I think they'll score points. We'll see if Cincy can with that offensive line. I think the game is going to be an over. It'll be back and forth. And love catching a point and a point and a half with the Chiefs, but even at -1, I'm still leaning the Chiefs because I think this line should be 2.5.
I like
what you guys think
well.
about the Sixers game last night? That's what they're talking about in the chat right now for some reason. Ridiculous.
It was a good game.
It was a good game.
I like the over game as well.
You said it's Cincy and the over, right?
Yeah, I'm going to take the Bengals too. I just think, RJ, you talk about that Chiefs offensive line, and in the middle of that line, they're outstanding, as good as anybody.
Mm-hmm.
But the left tackle and the right tackle are just okay. And I think that's where they're going to be able to pressure him, particularly. You're going to have to keep him in there, keep him contained. And I think that limits the offense. On the other side of the ball, you're right about the Cincinnati offensive line. Can they hold up again, whoever plays? And that's a big issue here. But Burrow gets the ball out so fast. And I do think they're beatable down the field, the Chiefs secondary. So I think you're going to see some big plays. And I think in the end, I think Burrow's going to find a way to win it again. So I'm going to take the Bengals as the best bet as well.
Speaking of getting the ball out early, my other best bet is Joe Mixon over 24.5 receiving yards. I played it at 22.5 on Sportsline. Since he's running backs had 50+ receiving yards in all 3 Kansas City games in those Cincinnati wins. Kansas City has allowed the most receptions to running backs in the regular season this year. Mixon top 30 receiving yards in 7 of his last 8 regular season appearances. And he didn't get there to this number last couple of weeks, but he was close, 17, 18 yards. I think he gets there in this particular matchup, and he's going to go into that 30 range again. So I like playing over on his receiving yards.
The Bengals have had success, by the way, against Kelsey. He had, what do you have last year in the playoff game? He had 10. I think he had 10. But aside from that game, he hasn't been over 5 catches in any of those other games. And in large part, Trey Flowers has done some good work on him, and they've doubled him at times. But I think, Trey Flowers is questionable, isn't he, for the game right now? He's listed as questionable with the hamstring, which he's the Kelsey cover guy.
Check.
Kelsey, I think, had one good game against him, but he's had 2
in the playoffs last year.
Trey. See, they haven't done injury status yet. We'll get injury status on Thursday. He is limited practice. Well, I would guess if he's limited again, he'll be questionable as well today. Did not Jonah Williams and Alex Kappa did not practice. So.
Yeah, he had 10 catches against them in the playoffs, but aside from that, the 4 other games he only had. The most he had was 5. So they've done a pretty good job on him.
Kelsey's been a beast in the playoffs too. I think he's averaging.
If you could take him away, which I would do, I'm taking him away. Yeah. If the other guys beat me, have at it.
WWBBD. What would Bill Belichick do? Right? I mean, he would bracket Kelsey and he would force you to win with Marcus Valdez-Scantling, Juju Smith-Schuster, and Mecole Hardman, I think, also limited practice. Jerick McKinnon, by the way, that's a big one, I think. Full practice for him. I'm very interested to see what the Chiefs do from a running back perspective because I went and looked, and I think that what did I look at? That the last time Mahomes was banged up, they used – or maybe it was the Super. I can't remember if it was the Super Bowl or what I looked at, but it was basically, they had used Clyde Edwards-Helaire more, and then they went to Jerick McKinnon because he's a better don't you think they trust McKinnon better at pass protection than they do Isaiah Pacheco? Okay.
If you watch last week's game,
he rocked that guy. Yeah, he was outstanding.
Not just him, he was rocking him all night. He's great in pass protection.
That's what I'm saying. I think that this will be a more of a Jerick McKinnon game. Unless the Chiefs have some big lead and they want to lean on Pacheco. Pacheco also had those fumbles early in the year. The Chiefs, when it gets to nut cutting time, they tend to trust those veterans a little bit more. I know what it was. They went, instead of Clyde Edwards-Helaire, they went to Darrell Williams, 55-45 splits. So I think we see at least 55-45 snap splits leaning towards Jerick McKinnon because they want to pass protect. He gives them a little more versatility coming out of the backfield, able to catch the ball, can still run the ball. And it's only a Pacheco situation if they have a lead and they're trying to get downhill. Thoughts on that?
I mean, it
generally
depends.
agree.
Where are you in the game? Because I think if you're going in a shootout, McKinnon's much better.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I think this will be a shootout. Yeah, I mean, I think.
By the way, one thing the Bengals did last week was all those little delayed blitzes from the secondary. And when your quarterback can't move, that can be a problem.
Interesting.
Chiefs should just go 13 the whole game and just throw 3 tight ends out there. And that'll help you out with the blocking on the ends and hopefully get Kelsey a
Noah
little
Gray,
free.
Blake Bell, and
Sometimes
Kelsey all lined up.
you don't need like Valdez Scantling out there. You don't need those guys out there. Just 3 tight ends. Let's go.
That is true. So look, I mean, I've had a pretty firm stance on not betting against Joe Burrow in January. It's worked out fairly well for me. It cost me a lot of money, a ton, an obscene amount of money when he played Clemson in that national championship game. That was not a fun evening at the Brinson household. However, since then, I've made a habit of not fading Joe Burrow in January and have made most of that back with his Bengals games. I will keep doing that here. So I've got futures tickets that I bet like before like December. Right. I have the Eagles from April, 38-1 to win the Super Bowl. I have the 49ers from around Thanksgiving at 15-1 to win the Super Bowl. And I have the Bengals from at some point mid-season where I was like, the Bengals just look like a good football team at 18-1 to win the Super Bowl. What should I do with the Chiefs at like what, plus 250 or plus 230? I got to hedge, right?
Congrats to the Chiefs, by the way.
F you, RJ.
Hey, there you go, Patrick. You won the Super Bowl.
Here's your Lombardi. Here's your Lombardi.
You hedge
out at all?
You hedge if you want. I mean, I don't like hedging. I like I already have my money. So I have 49ers plus 20-1. Like, I don't want to hedge out of that because what are they now? 4-1, 5-1. I mean, I'm already way ahead of the market. I would just rather play that money. It's not like I put my life savings on this and I need to get some money, some return off of it. You should never be betting that much. If you're betting disposable income, I say just let it ride.
Yeah, I mean, I would need to bet like.
It'd be crazy not to let it ride because there's.
I got 3 of the 4 teams.
Right, you're stupid if you don't let it ride.
Well, and if the Eagles, if it's Eagles Chiefs, I'm already up net because I have a big ticket on the Eagles to win the NFC Championship game too.
Yeah, you're stupid to let it ride.
Stupid not to let it ride.
I mean, not to let it ride.
Yeah. I mean, like, I would have to bet like 3.5 units on the Chiefs at like plus 230 to guarantee some kind of profit, I think, at this point, which just seems dumb.
No, dumb.
You should do that if you think the Chiefs are going to win and you think they're the best team by a wide margin. Just play whatever the market is right now and play your best bet then if you want to get into it. But you shouldn't do it based on what your other bets are. I just think you're ahead on those bets. Let them go. And then if you really love the Chiefs right now, whatever the number is, you can play the Chiefs, in that sense, but not just to do it as a cover for you. Unless you think you're going to lose the house. If the Chiefs win, then maybe you need to get some coverage. But
if the Chiefs win, then you could always hedge at the Super Bowl too.
Yeah. Chiefs will be favored. Let me look.
But I mean, why wouldn't you just let it go and then hedge it? Because if you got a bad angle on a quarterback that the one team you're playing against has a bad ankle, you'd be stupid not to let it ride.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm not planning on it. I just want to curious what you guys thought. The Chiefs are plus 261, so they're actually behind they are the second favorite behind the Eagles, a little bit ahead of the Bengals.
Okay, so say if it's Eagles Chiefs win, what's the line in that game?
I'm going to tell you in 1 second because I actually saw these out there. It would be Eagles -1, so that'd be a perfect hedging opportunity.
Right,
that's the move.
Right,
because if the Bengals win and I hedge now, I'm out.
Let's just say, for the sake of this argument, you put $100 on that bet. You're going to win $1,800.
Yep.
Right, with the Eagles if they win it.
Or no, 38-1. Yeah.
Yeah, 3,800. So you bet. What you do is you take 1,900 and put it on the Chiefs.
I don't think it would be Eagles -1, just by the way, because if the Chiefs are winning this game,
that's what the Superbook put out based on the Mahomes thing. I agree. If the
Chiefs win
the game, they'll have 2 weeks for Mahomes, so it'll probably be Chiefs -2.
The spreads and what we know.
Yeah, but
now,
so the
I'm
money
just saying
line,
if they win,
the money
he's
line, the money line wouldn't be that bad if it's like Chiefs -3.
Yeah, it'd be like -125 or something. I mean,
so you could hedge your bet that way.
Yeah, or even wait. Like,
I wouldn't even.
I'm probably not going to hedge it at all, honestly. I'm just presenting it in case other people have the same situation.
Productive conversation then.
Yeah. So here's what Superbook put out for possible Super Bowl matchups. It's basically the NFC team -1 in every single matchup. Right. As of January 24th, what's the day? The 26th. So like 2 days ago. So, I mean, it's probably changed a little bit. Just because of the Mahomes thing, but we'll see. Okay.
Did you
anyway? I'm not betting against Joe Burrow here. I think it's going to be a great game. I'll take the Bengals. It's not about like they've been the Chiefs' kryptonite, but Lou Anarumo's done a really, really good job defensively against, like, he doesn't get enough credit for what he's done against like Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes in these playoff matchups. Good second half adjustment, so you don't worry about being like, like Andy Reid taking care of you at the break. Joe Burrow is a stone cold killer. I think they'll try to run some, but I think they'll also let him pass early, let him pass often. They've got a full complement of weapons. Burrow doesn't flinch at any environment, at any matchup, and they just went into Buffalo and did exactly what they need to do in Kansas City. Will Mahomes get him back in it and keep it close? I mean, almost certainly. It'll probably be a great game. That's why the line is 1. I don't think either team will blow either of these teams out. I think if either team has a double-digit lead, then both of them are capable of getting right back in the game, and nothing would surprise me in terms of the outcome. I think the Mahomes ankle injury is a way bigger deal than maybe it's being sort of like treated right now. I just think it's going to be hard to move in the pocket. It's going to be cold. Probably pumping full of Toradol or whatever else, but it's just going to be difficult to be mobile for him out there. So I will take the Bengals minus or +1. I also have the Bengals in that teaser, as I mentioned. I'm going to take 3 overs for the Bengals as well. Burrow over pass yards, 279.5. Jamar Chase over receiving yards, 83.5. And Samaje Perine over rush and receiving yards, 36.5. He'll just be involved if this is a shootout. And he can certainly break one in either a reception or a rush. I like that mix it over too by you, RJ.
Good luck.
Thank you. So that's 8 best bets for me. 15.
You're trying. He's trying.
15-7 is a winner right there. Sweep. Look at that. 2 for Pete. 4 for Pete.
Oh, 4.
Yeah. 4 for each of y'all. 8 best bets. It's so easy to look at those props and find props you like. I mean, I might have 35 best bets for the Super Bowl.
I got Jalen Hurts over. I gave in a prop today. Jalen Hurts over longest completion over 39.5.
You want to add it on here?
You can throw it in there if you want.
All right, give Pete a 5th bet. Toss it on there. Jalen Hurts over longest completion 39.5 minus 199.
I mean, since your guy Quez Watkins had a 91-yarder against them last.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be a real flipper if he hits that over, hits Quez for a 40-yarder. It's just a little scoop slam for you. All right, that'll do it for us. That's the Conference Championship Best Bet show. Next time Pete's on the show, it'll be in person. We'll be doing, by the way, on CBS Sports HQ, we'll be doing an hour daily from the Super Bowl Pick 6 podcast show. Just keep rolling us out there. So make sure you're checking out CBS Sports HQ. Of course, we'll tweet out links to it. We'll let you know where you can go, but sort of, plan ahead if you want to join. Our listeners and viewers are always very loyal about helping us out on those shows in terms of getting viewership up. We always appreciate it. I guess I hope some of y'all's bets win, but I hope all mine win. Good luck this weekend. For RJ, for Pete,
We know better.